All right. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back with another Wargaming and miniature video. We're going to be doing some painting on these World War II Germans that I've got. And just chit-chatting and having a good time. So you guys, if you want to chat with me, be sure to post it up and I will answer it as I recognize it. Right now I'm setting up my chat bot here. Yeah, I had to redo a bunch of stuff. Okay, do I just refresh it? Okay, yeah, that's working. Good deal. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to use these. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. How's everybody doing this morning? I know it's cold out, and when I went out to put my shipments out for the store, I definitely noticed it was cold. But that's okay. We'll work past that. Okay, so what I'm working on is 2 Pak 40s, and then 3 packages of West Wind German infantry. One of the packs was Panzerschrecks and Panzerfausts. Another pack was MG42s, and then another pack was German infantry in greatcoats. So that's what I'm working with here. I think I need to go redo my water because that's old, and I think it's got some paint in there from when I was doing my 100 Years War stuff. So I'll redo that in just a moment. Just to let you know, because it's cold outside, I went ahead and did a brush primer of gray, and then once that dried, I gave it overnight to dry. This morning I painted these guys with a combination of bark brown, which is a folk art paint, bark brown, and German camo black brown. I did like a little mixture of that and brushed it on these guys to give me the base coat. I didn't want the gray to be the base coat. I wanted the brown to be the base coat. And I was actually thinking of getting a piece of a wax paper and laying it out here so that I could paint these bases, the sides of the bases, and set it down on the wax paper. So, but that'll probably be one of the last things I do. We're going to work with, and also on my anti-tank guns, the crews, I base them up separately so that as crew members die, you can pull the figure off, or if they decide to, what do they call it, abandoning the gun, they can do that. Um, I ran into that problem playing bolt action. Uh, Actually, I ran into this problem when I hosted a bolt action game at my local convention. We have a local convention called NashCon. It's done down here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I ran a game of Market Garden. I had 3 tables going all at the same time. Right? So I had uh, Arnhem, Nijmegen, and I Eindhoven. Um, I don't remember what the first bridge's name was, but there were 3 scenarios in the Market Garden book, right? And I just played them all simultaneously. And it was really, everybody had a good time. You know, I had a player playing the Germans on each table, and I had a player playing the Allies on each table. And there was an anti-tank gun on, I think it was the very first table, the American table. And they needed to abandon the gun, but the models were glued onto the base and of the anti-tank gun, and that just didn't work. That was disastrous. Not really. We worked around it, but it was difficult to tell where the gun. We had to mark where the gun was, and then move the crew. And but if you could also do it if you had like extra models. You could say these 4 infantry guys are actually the gun crew. But ever since that game, I've committed myself to separating the gun crew from the gun itself. Let me clean this water, get fresh water, and then we'll be right back and we'll get going on painting these bastards. Just so you know, I've been summoned to jury duty. Actually, it's a pre-summon. It's a qualification. So I have 10 days to respond. So I'll get into that. Got our water with a little bit of soap in it. A couple of squirts of hand soap. There we go. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Okay, we're going to go with flesh first. I'm going to have to really take a look at these models and see if any of them are wearing gloves. And if they are, then I just won't paint those hands. But all their faces are getting painted. Except for one guy, if I remember right, he had a scarf that wrapped around his head and face, and the only thing you could see was his eyes. Which I thought was pretty cool. Now, all of these models are going to be going up for sale on my eBay store. So this is painting for this shelf. We're painting for the store. Okay. Glasses. I'm using my Dizical, whatever it is, glasses. And I have my top 10 brushes in this. Yeah, let's go ahead and use that bad boy. Okay, hang on. This water bottle is not turned properly. There we go. Now, the last time I cleaned them, I might have used some of the blue stuff from AK. The actually, it's Battalion 502, and but I bought it through AK. And that's how I keep my, or try, or attempt to keep my brushes healthy. Okay, so that brush should be good to go. I'm using AK's Light Flesh. You can see here I've got a bunch of paints lined up. I don't know if you can see them all, but there's like 6, 12, 13, 14 paints. And that's probably, I'm probably going to come across a color that I need and I'll have to pull down. But basically, I pull all these colors out ahead of time to kind of give me, you know, prepared. So as I go through the paints, I'll put them away and I can kind of see my, progress because my paints will slowly disappear. Plus, the time it took me to search through all my paints to find the colors I needed will save a little bit of time on the back end. Because while I was waiting for things to dry, I started pulling out colors. Try to multitask, you see. Okay. One color at a time. And at this point, it's okay if I get any paint on pretty much anything else, because everything else needs to be colored. And I debated on which field gray. I'm a field gray connoisseur. I probably have 10 different field gray paints. And I picked one out initially a few nights ago, and I slept on it. And I said, nope, that's not the field gray I want to use. And I'm going to default to their hands not being in gloves. Whoop, that's his sling. That's not his hand. Yeah, I really want to paint gloves on them because I'm planning on doing a snow on their bases. I think I'm going to do mud, do like a mud covering of the entire base. And then pick and choose certain areas that I'm going to put snow on and come back in and paint white over those areas. Um, before I put the white mud, I'm sorry, before I put the white snow texture down, because I found that snow doesn't normally sit well on anything but white. The brown kind of makes it like a brown snow or something, and it just doesn't look good. So I want to play a little bit of Star Citizen this afternoon, but I also want to get these guys painted. I debated on whether or not I was going to stream Star Citizen this morning. And then my brain kind of said, Derek, you need to get these painted for the store. You've been putting them off too long. Get them done. And I said, okay, brain, that's what we'll do. If nothing else, I still will probably stream Star Citizen later this afternoon. But I want to have a lot of progress on these guys. Now, some of these guys are just in their regular old German uniforms with jack boots. So they're going to be kind of out of place, I think. But I think that'll be okay. I'm mix them in with some guys with great coats, and then mix them in with guys with smocks. I guess it could be Eastern Front, early war Eastern Front. Jack boots and great coats. It doesn't have to be the Ardennes. Even though it doesn't matter about where I put the paint, I still kind of fall back on my habits, and I try to paint within the confines of the figure, you know. So are any of you guys working on any models? Are you painting and listening, or are you at work, or do you have something on your painting bench at home? If you do, put it in the chat. I'd like to know. Are you working on War of the Roses like everyone else in the world? Okay, this guy's got a great coat on, and it looks like those might be gloves. They have a different look to them. Even if they're not gloves, I'm going to paint them like gloves. Because it kind of looks like gloves. This one too. Okay. So I have some winter tufts that I'm going to apply to these guys after the snow. Not very many of them, you know, one or less per figure. I'm not planning on putting any grass or any static grass or anything like that. That's the idea, anyway. Okay, now these guys look like well, the guy in the front's has jack boots. The guy in the back has rolled up sleeves, so I doubt if he's cold. I could paint these guys up with static grass and stuff like that and not paint them wintry if that's and just not put them in a squad, sell them separately. I think that's what I'll probably wind up doing with these guys. Because when you roll up your sleeves like that, you're making a bold statement. You're saying, I ain't cold. Okay, this guy's got a helmet cover on. That's good. I did a little research this morning. Yeah, I do gloves on him. Oh, this is the dude. Okay. About the uniforms. I wasn't sure if the greatcoats were going to be a different color or anything, and they're not. They're field gray. The gloves are, which is a color I didn't pull out. The gloves were kind of a really light green. Okay, I can't even see this guy's face. I think these guys are wearing cold weather clothing. Maybe not his top. But those pants could easily be cold weather. We'll do gloves on these guys. Yeah, my default is trying to do cold weather. And when you buy a West Wind machine gun pack, they give you 4 machine gun teams. Either lying down or standing up, and in various uniform configurations. Like this guy's got a poncho laid over him, and this guy's got a poncho super tight on his back. Yeah, we'll give this guy gloves. Yeah, I found that a brown is like the perfect base coat for World War II figures. Because flesh goes on brown really good. All the drab colors go on brown really good. And metallics go on brown really good. If it's dark enough, dark brown. Okay, this guy's got a smock on. And something funny I discovered, West Wind has Pack 40. Okay, it has a bunch of different anti-tank guns, right? From all the different manufacturers, all the different manufacturers, all the different nations and all that. But when it comes to the Pack 40, for the Germans, this is unique to only the Pack 40. They sell the guns separately from the crew. And you get 2 guns and 8 crew, which is good, which is great for putting 2 guns together. It's okay for me because I'm selling them. But if you're putting them in your army, let's say a bolt action army or something, you really only need 1 gun. Probably. So it doesn't come out like cost effective for a single player unless he needs 2 anti-tank guns, which he probably doesn't. He's probably putting his force together and he's getting 1 anti-tank gun. And even then, my understanding is the meta is not a Pack 40. It's maybe the Pack 38, the 50 millimeter anti-tank gun. Just because of the cost. Point wise. Now, my understanding is a 50 can take out any tank. It's just, the modifiers are a little bit different. I have a copy of the third edition, but I haven't read through it. It's I also have a copy for sale if you're interested. Bolt Action third edition. Now this guy's got a coat on over his uniform, but it's open. So I'm going to go ahead and paint his hands. Thinking that maybe it's warmed up. I know you say, Derek, why do you put so much thought? Just paint them. Well, you want your models to, okay, what is that? What is he wearing? He's wearing some kind of crazy shenanigans. I'm going to leave him with gloves. He's got like a smock, but it's not. It's like a poncho. Because every miniature tells a tale. You know, the sculptor is telling a little bit of a story with every little figure. And as a painter, I've got to kind of see that story and bring it to life with color. Okay, he's got a smock on as well. This guy looks cold. He's No Neck. No Neck McGee. Except he's German, so it'd be No Neck Steiner. Steiner was one of my favorite um, officer counters in Squad Leader. Lieutenant Steiner, or whatever his rank was. Yeah, I don't know what I want to do with this guy's hands. I think they're going to be flush. Holding the binoculars. Resting on a rock. Behind a poncho. Okay. Okay. Flush. Done. Okay, let me think about the glove colors. Let's do the gloves in this color. There's a lot of gloves. Try not to put too much water. Excuse me. Okay, so now we're going to work backwards. Yep, I like this color for the gloves. It's actually perfect. It's the AK field gray. No, it's not. It's ammo. It's the MiG field gray, which is a little bit too bright green. But it works really good for these gloves. And again, I can really slather it on because I still have to paint all the stuff around the gloves, like his jacket and his weapon and all that. So it's okay if these, if I paint outside the lines. And if they have fleshy hands, don't need to paint them. Yeah, this would be a really good start for somebody's bolt action army. And I noticed the bolt action starter set, the new one, the third edition one, is winter. It's not D-Day like the other one was. It's now the Ardennes, I do believe. Because I think the plastic sprues in the box, I think, are German in winter clothing. Oh, actually, I think they're Fallschirmjägers in winter clothing. Which is pretty cool. Because normally all the Fallschirmjägers are that I've done has been for like D-Day or for Market Garden. Okay, I need to be a little careful with it there because the hand that's holding the stock on the machine gun is actually resting against his face. So the form that I got, it's like a little postcard telling me that I've got to contact the city for this jury duty, right? And it says you got 10 days to respond to this, blah, blah, blah. But more than half of that postcard says a number of times, maybe 3 or 4 sentences at different places. So they want you to make sure that you understand this. No excuses allowed. I guess, if you said, my kid's got to go to baseball practice and I have no one else to take him. I'm just using that as an example. They're like, we don't care. You're being summoned. Bitch. I don't have any excuses. I want to do it. I've never done it. I'm sure it'll be boring and I'll be like, sitting there wishing I was somewhere else. I don't know how much they pay, but I understand that they pay you for your time. It's probably a low rate, like $20 a day or something like that. And if I wanted out of it, I know like the perfect way to get out of it. When I do the qualification thing, I can just say, yeah, I'm looking forward to finding whoever this is guilty so I can tell all my friends that I was able to take a criminal off the street, make the city safer. So I'm probably going to vote guilty every time. And whoever the defendant is going to say, no, we can't take that guy. Let's pass on him. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say I plan to be fair. I don't know anything about this trial, this court. I don't know who it is or why you'd want me or. I'll do my best. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's in the wrong place. All right, so we got the gloves, got the hands, got the faces. We are making some progress. Now I'm trying to figure out how I want to layer this. I should paint every helmet and then come back in later and do like a whitewash type of a coloring for their helmets. Not just go in and paint the helmet all white, because that's not the way it was. If it's a helmet cover, yes, but if it's not a helmet cover, and not all the helmets are going to have white on them. Huh. And if this is the point that I'd like to do helmets. It's I like to do the flesh first and then do the helmet. That's in the wrong place. Okay. I've got field gray. I've got field gray base, which is just a very subtle darker. And then dark green. Yep, there we go. What is this? Dunkelgrün. A couple of different things are going to be Dunkelgrün or dark green. Like their, what do they call that thing? Gas mask canister. But I'm not going to paint the gas mask canister until after I do the uniform. And if you missed it, I just put that dark green in with the field gray that I had just used. I don't think that's dark enough. I think that field gray ruined it. Okay, so that's a beautiful color, but I just don't think it's the right color. No, it's just not dark enough. Okay, I think I've got a black green somewhere. Ah. Yeah. Give a couple of drops of this black green just to darken it up. Ah, now we're cooking with Crisco. Yeah, that's the color I was looking for. Black green, but not black green. Okay, let's let that dry a second because I'm not sure if that's dark enough. Hmm. You know what? I'm going to put a drop of black in there. Okay, I think that black got absorbed by this green. It did darken it, but not enough. Put one more drop. Okay, I've got a kind of a dark, like a black green almost. Oh, I think that's exactly what I need. We'll see once I compare the helmets here. I don't know, you might not be able to see this, but that is what I'm shooting for, not those two. But those look pretty good. That almost looks like Middlestone, which the Germans late war did kind of paint their helmets, especially in Normandy. And a lot of people will paint their German helmets German gray, which is inaccurate. They're not German gray. They are a very dark green. Yep, and this color is working for me. And I'm going to do every helmet this color. And then I'll go back in and do a lot of them with white. Actually, I'm not using white. I'm using a light gray. What do they call it? A white gray. So it's kind of like an off-white, but not far off. White gray, yeah. Okay, this guy looks like he's got a helmet cover. I'll leave that alone. Yeah, so because of the layering that I'm doing, I might have to revisit some of these colors. Um, Not this helmet color, that's not going to be a problem. But like I'll do some white on the helmet, right? Like I plan to do. And then I'll have to paint something else. And then paint white on a jacket later. Or something like that. Even though I don't like doing that, I like picking a color and painting everything that's going to be that color, and then putting the color away knowing that it's finished. And I'm going to do that for the most part. Oh, that's definitely a helmet cover. But the uniform and the white camouflage portions of the uniform is really where the back and forths are going to come. That is not even a helmet. That is a soft cap. I didn't realize that I was going to like these West Wind models as much as I do by looking at them. I've always thought of West Wind as kind of being subpar. But these models are awesome. I'm going to have to change my opinion. You got a lot of detail on them. Helmet cover. See, these gloves are straight up field gray from the ammo paint line, but they're just way too bright. So I don't see how that could be field gray. Unless it was field gray highlight or something like that. Which I do have one of those up there called field gray highlights. So I've been painting my 100 Years War, right? I took a break from my American War of Independence to paint some Burgundians. And I painted everything out of the Burgundian starter pack, plus some dismounted knights, except for the allies that come in the Burgundian starter army. They provide you with some English longbowmen, which my army list says in Meg that if you take the English as allies, you have to have an English general, and you have to have 2 units of longbows and a unit of men-at-arms. Minimum. So I skipped the allies because I plan to do the English army next. And if I need allies, I could just pull them from the English army. Because if I was to play against the English army, I'm sure I wouldn't have any allies fighting on my side. So there's never going to be a time where I would need to have English allies and an English army. There is the option of the French allies, but I'm planning on doing a French army as well. And I was noticing that the English and the French can take Burgundians as allies. Basically, they all can take each other as allies at a, well, not the English and the French, but the Burgundians and either the English or the French, depending on what battle it is or what year it is. So in my English army, I'm not going to do any Burgundian allies because I have a Burgundian army that I could field. And in the French army, I'm not going to do any Burgundian allies. Now, like I said, I plan to do the English next, it'll be after I paint these and post these. So before the end of the week, I'll have started my English. And I don't think I will get the French done by February. I mean, the end of February. I might, because the English, it's possible. Because the English are 99% longbowmen. And I plan to paint all the longbowmen all at the same time. So if I can knock out all the longbowmen in a week, which honestly it'll probably take me 3 days. Well, depending on the numbers, maybe 4 days. And then my English army will be almost finished. Because I only need one tiny unit of knights and a handful of men-at-arms. Is that a cover? That is a cover. Okay. And that is probably a cover. Okay. And I'm thinking when I do the knights, I'll probably just include the French knights with them. And then I can do English and French knights simultaneously. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, that's all that. Okay. Okay, so instead of doing the white, I'm going to, which is really just going to be splatters on some of these helmets, and then the helmet covers. Instead of doing that now, I think I'm going to do the field gray pants. That might wind up being the overcoat. But this is going to be the pants. Not every one of these is going to have field gray pants. Some of these are going to have white pants. Not sure which ones are which, but we'll figure it out as we go. And I'm doing the pants before I do the jack boots. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, this guy is not winterized at all, so I'm going to paint his jacket as well. Just to get it out of the way. Now, if my memory serves me right, and it usually doesn't, but if it did, I think the non-SS, right, the regular army had black load-bearing equipment. And I think the SS had the brown LBE. And I'm not painting any SS. Nope, not doing it. I painted too many SS over the last few months. So I could paint right over these guys' LBEs, what I'm trying to get at. Because I'm going to have to go back in later and paint them black. I think. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that little bit of paint I put in the palette is not going to be enough for all the units or all the figures. Okay, he looks really good, actually. But I've said that already for all of them. Now I'm using German Field Gray by AK. I think it's the right field gray for a uniform. Okay. Now I'm not painting the coat this color field gray. I'm going to paint it a little bit different. Actually, I think it's a little bit darker. Just ever so slightly. That's why I have the other field gray bottle out there. Because it's not even a full shade darker. It's just slightly darker. Yeah, I'm doing this guy's jacket as well because it's the standard German uniform jacket. He's got jack boots on. If I didn't take a break to play some Star Citizen this afternoon, I could probably have these guys finished in one day. But I am definitely going to play some Star Citizen. Okay. Can't see his pants. Okay. If I was to play bolt action in a tournament setting, like if I'd go to conventions and just play in the tournament scene, I think I would play Germans. Not because they're the best, um, but because I think they have the largest variety. Troop types and armor. And I like that. I like having a lot of options. Now, some of these guys are going to have white pants, like this guy. But his top is going to be green. Field gray. That's what I meant. But he's going to have cold weather pants. Okay. Looking good. Overcoat, jack boots. Ah, there's a little bit of his pants in there. And as a general rule of thumb, I paint inside out. And what I mean by that is I paint the flesh, then I paint the uniform, and then I paint the gear. So whatever's the closest to the skin is what I paint first, and I work my way out from there. normally. Sometimes it'll be different based on the colors, but almost always inside out. Inside out. Yeah, these guys look like they are winterized. Okay, it's hard to tell on the tops, but because the tops have a split in the back, I think it's just a regular uniform. And not a smock. It's hard to tell when you can't see collars or the pockets in the front. Because they're laying down prone. I'll do that on both of them. I don't know about you guys, um, but I've seen a ton of Star Citizen commercials this last couple of months. I mean, I've never seen this many commercials focused on one game or one topic. That's good for them, but I'm getting inundated by Star Citizen commercials, and I'm already a backer. I've already bought the game. Why are you giving me these commercials? Okay, now this guy's got a tarp on top of him. That tarp is, I was thinking I was going to paint it like Splinter, but I think I'm just going to paint it white, like a blanket. No, I wanted to paint that guy's pants white. Okay, hold on. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Those models. And I like the way West Wind modeled their soft caps. There's a lot of detail on these soft caps. More than like Warlord or Perry or any of those guys. Yeah, some of these great goats, you can barely see any pants at all. And one of the reasons why I wanted to paint the pants was so that I could go ahead and get their boots taken care of. Okay. This guy's wearing some kind of something. Okay. So far, so good. We're going to have to mix up a little bit more. So I add water mainly to thin it down so that it goes on nice and smooth without any brush strokes. Okay, his pants will be white. But as you probably already know, I don't like playing tournament style games. I prefer historical refights. Because I look at it like this. If you're playing a historical game, why don't you have historical battles? If you're only playing a historical game because of the historical figures or armies types, then you're not really playing a historical game. You're playing a reskinned Warhammer. Because what makes the game historical is not the armies, even though that is a major part of it. But it's the situations, it's the battles. It's the hard choices that the commanders had to make that now you have to make. Now, I don't like games that are railroaded, where you're forced to do exactly what they did in the battle. Because if you wanted that, you could just go watch a documentary. You want to be able to change things. And that's where the rub is. That's where the conundrum comes in. Do you let them choose where they're going to set up or not? Do you let them choose what type of troops they bring or not? Do the reinforcements come in on the exact turn that they did historically or not? So there's a lot of things to contemplate. I personally like playing on historically accurate maps. So the battlefield itself with the troops that were there deployed where they were deployed. But after that, starting on turn 1, move where you want, attack who you want. Make mistakes however you want. I can't see anything on that figure. I do like me some American paratroopers, but they're not, or they should not, be effective in every scenario, right? Because they're like element of surprise, hit him in the backfield. Up close and personal. They're not going to have any armor or heavy weapons. I mean, there are glider troops that can have like towed anti-tank guns and stuff like that. But I wouldn't think they would do very good in a tournament. That's why I wouldn't play specialized troops in any kind of tournament scenario. But I know you're allowed to take armored vehicles and you're allowed to take a variety of different troop types. You know, you might have glider infantry or engineers or an anti-tank gun or even a tank. Because, like, even in Bastogne, when they were surrounded, the Ninth and the 10th were there with them. Armored divisions. The whole division wasn't there, but Combat Command Bravo from the 10th Armored and Combat Command Reserve from the Ninth were surrounded with them. So if you were playing some kind of battle like that, I could see the 28th Division actually even had some armor. I want to say the 707th, but what I'm saying is it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to take armored vehicles in an airborne unit for a tournament. But I don't know. I'm playing the 101st, and you're playing Italians or Russians, even, and we're going up against each other. It just doesn't make sense. At that point, I feel like I'm playing a fantasy game. Why am I playing historicals? That's what I'm saying. I thought I was only going to be doing the pants, but I got caught up in doing the jackets as well. No harm, no foul. Well, I've only got a handful of figures left for the field gray. Uniform, that is. So, funny story. When I was in the Army, I got stationed in a variety of different places. But when I got stationed in Berlin, as part of the Berlin Brigade, they made me an M60 gunner. And because of my experience, my trustworthiness, etc., etc. So we're on this live fire range, and we're firing from a tripod at targets like a kilometer away. But our position, mine and my assistant gunner, was overgrown. When I say overgrown, I mean there was like a wheat field crop in front of us. I don't know. We were on some German range. And we were shooting through some farmer's field, it looks like. And I couldn't see the target. It was a first of all, it was a graded event. They would mark our scores. And oh, I just selected the wrong green. Okay. Yeah, it was a graded. So what we scored mattered. And yep, okay. And so we were kind of looking and couldn't see anything. And the target goes by, like 1,000 meters away. It's like a kilometer away. And everybody's in their own little firing position. There's no threat or any kind of, there's no danger. So I told my assistant gunner, I said, you know what? I'm not going to get a score of 0. That's not going to happen. So I detached the machine gun from the tripod. I stood up and fired from the standing position. Just like a rifle. I had it up to my shoulder, and I'm got it braced against my arm and everything, and a 60 is not a light machine gun. They say yes, it's light. Okay, I know. But weight-wise, it's not light. It's not like an M16. But I'm a young, strapping man. I could handle it. Right? The next target came by. I'm standing. I'm firing. I'm hitting the target. Sometimes, maybe not all the time. But I'm not getting a score of 0. And my lieutenant came by. And he's like, what the hell are you doing? I said, I'm firing from the standing position. Because I can't see through the wheat field. And he was like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing that. And I was like, yes. It's supposed to be on the tripod. But I don't want a score of 0 for our platoon, because it was a platoon score. And he was like, just be safe. And I'm over there standing up. Everybody else in the platoon has got nice, clean fields of fire, you know, except for me. I was breaking the rules. I was, you know, I don't know if he appreciated putting me in charge of the gun or if he regretted it. Because I was never one to follow the rules. I don't know if you know anything about the Berlin Brigade, but they were famous for urban combat, right? Fighting in the city. And we had our own little mount site, you know, just right down the road. And sometimes when we went to the field, we'd go to this mount site and we would practice urban combat, right? Okay. And we watch all these videos and, you know, all kinds of things on urban combat. And there was this one day that my lieutenant and the gunner and I was the gunner, but my lieutenant and my assistant gunner and myself, we had to get across this intersection. We didn't have any smoke, and if you know anything about urban combat, you don't go one at a time. You go all at once. And the reason why is it doesn't give them a chance to like react. If you go one at a time, they'll see the first guy go, and then they'll be ready for the second guy. But we didn't have any smoke. We had a good idea where the enemy was. We didn't know exactly. They were down the road, maybe in one of the buildings. And we had to go diagonally across this four-way intersection. And I remember this today like it was yesterday. I'm running across the road with my lieutenant and my assistant gunner. I'm holding the machine gun in one hand, right? I got the stock under my arm, and I've got the pistol grip, and I've got the ammo in my left hand, and I'm feeding my own ammo, and I'm firing with one hand as we're running down the road, and I'm shooting up the road, just basically covering fire, you know, just suppressing fire or whatever. And everybody said, "Oh man, that looks so badass," you know, and I'm like, hey, you know, I was just trying to get across the road alive, which we all did, you know, so. Okay, I'm checking the time because I've been on here a while. Okay, it's been a couple hours. It's 11:15. No problem. We can continue. I can continue because I was thinking 12 o'clock is when I'd stream my Star Citizen. Even though I do need to eat. We'll do one more color probably. Okay, so I'm going to bring up I'm bringing up a site. It's my YouTube site. I'm going to schedule another stream, Star Citizen. let's call it noon. Today's the 21st. What did I miss? Oh, that's all. All that's correct. Okay. Mark it down as 12 p.m. All right. Next color. It's going to be the darker field gray. It's not going to be this field gray, which I could probably put away because I don't think I'm going to paint anything else with that. This is dark green. Okay, that's one I just used. Yeah, the Old Glory field gray, which, not Old Glory, what am I saying? The Vallejo field gray might be a little darker than this AK field gray base. So what I'm going to do is test both of them. Just on one figure. Okay, I think running out. There we go. Well, if nothing else, it does look pretty good. It might even look a little darker than the pants. That's what I want, but we're gonna have to test that out. I can put a jacket next to it, and they look kind of similar. It's still wet though, so I gotta let it dry. Because as you know, paint will change its color as it dries. It's not always the same as what you see in the bottle. Okay, German field gray from Vallejo. Let's get another jacket. I missed a spot. Okay. Okay, this Vallejo one looks like the first one. Okay. Hard to tell. They look very close. Hmm. And I've got this Army Painter field gray, but this one just looks gray. It doesn't look like field gray at all. And then this is the MiG ammo field gray, and I think it's super light. Yeah, I don't think it will work. Okay, let me reach for a color that I very rarely ever use. But might be the one I need. It's all drab. Move that out of the way. Okay, I'm confused. Maybe that's it up there. Okay. I gotta put my eyes on. This is the field gray that I'm looking for. This color, but I could have swore I had a new bottle. And it's hard to get to where I put them. With these gloves, it's hard to get down in there. Olive drab, okay. What about you? Topside green. Black, green. Oh, maybe it's right over here. Okay, hold on. Yep. It's right where I put it. And I forgot where I put it. It's Tamiya field gray. We're gonna give a little trial of that and see what it looks like. That one is drawing a little bit darker than that one. It's almost not even noticeable. I have a tool for opening bottles, cans, and stuff like that. But this bottle is so short, I can't really get my hand in there to hold on to it. Okay, let's do it this way. I think it was moving. Yep, there we go. This is almost a full bottle. Dang. Okay, here we go with Tamiya Field Gray. Okay, it looks good going on, but I gotta let it dry. It's going on. It's looking a little blue-green when it goes on. But it'll color shift. I used to swear up and down by Tamiya Field Gray. This is my second bottle of it, actually. But depending on the effect that I'm looking for, I'll go for different paints. Okay, so that's the Tamiya Field Gray. Let's see which one comes out the best. Oh, okay. They all look good. I think this one is just a little too light. And this is just a Field Gray base. Looks a little bit like that. Like these two have very, very subtle differences. Just looking at it, I don't know, I'm struggling between these two right here. These two are great for uniform colors. So are these. They're all good for uniforms. But I want one to be slightly different than the rest. I think the Tamiya one. I'm making a decision. It's going to be Tamiya. Mainly because these other ones are just too similar. Okay. So. Not everybody's got an overcoat. But if you do, you're going to get the Tamiya work. I think there's only like 10 of them that's got an overcoat. And I've already done 3. No. That's another reason why I like priming with a really dark brown or black. If you miss a spot, right, because no one's perfect. Let's say you're painting and you miss a very small spot that probably should have been painted. It won't stand out as a mistake. It'll just look like a shadow. Almost like you meant to do that. I have a sale going on right now in my store, so if you're interested in figures, you should go check it out. Also, if you order $50 or more, you get free shipping. So doubly go check it out. I'm planning on doing a few more anti-tank guns. I have some British and Russian and American. On the American side, I've got 3-inch and 57 millimeter. British, I've got a 17 pounder and a 6 pounder. The Russian, I think it's 45 millimeter, maybe a 76. I don't remember which one it is, but there's only one on the Russians. I think I've got some paratroopers. I know I've got some resin tanks. I think it's a Jagdpanzer. No, maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's a Jagdpanzer 5, which is a Jagdpanther. I know I've got an M10. I think I've got a Hanomag on there too. There has been a run on my 15 millimeter Old Glory. All the packages that went out today were all 15 millimeter Old Glory. There's 5 packages. Well, there's 8. Okay, here's 9. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with AT. No, it's not AT. AT 48 Tactics. Which is basically a miniature game done in 1/48 scale. Which I thought was pretty cool because then you could just go out and buy plastic 1/48 scale tanks or 1/48 scale infantry or whatever. And there's a ton of manufacturers out there that sell those. But the problem with that game, the mechanics of the game is fine. Every man you have is a superhero. He's got his own card. Okay, I must be missing. Nope, it's him. Okay. So every man on the table has his own unique stats. And weapon and how many grenades he carries and everything. So basically when you're playing, it's a small scale game. You're only playing with a handful of models on the table, 4 or 5, you know. Because if there was any more than that, you would lose your mind because everybody's unique. Now, I considered playing that game mass scale, like Bolt Action or whatever, where you got 30 guys, and guys would be, and I'd have a generic card for the non-superheroes, you know, all the extra guys. On both sides. And that would work just perfectly fine. Okay, that's all the great goats. There's only 10 of them. Come on, there you are. Tamaya makes some really good paint. I like them. Don't use them very much because I can't like really mix them or anything. But this 40 I-48 or 48 Tactic, or I don't remember exactly what it's called. I still have the rules up on the shelf over there. I was getting to a point about it for some reason. I don't remember what it was. If you watched any of my early videos when I first started carrying that game, I even kickstarted the expansion packs. And this game you can pick up at Boetta. And I was a what do you call it? One of their spokesmen or whatever they call it for that game. After I played a game or 2 or 3, I realized it was not too simple. That's not the word I should use because it's not a simple game. It was just very what's the word I can use for that? Let me just say it didn't feel right. Too many heroes, everybody having special abilities. I just couldn't wrap my head around that. Now, part of the problem is they sell figures that for each of the men. So like if you have Jimmy Comes a Lot on the table, you have to have Jimmy Comes a Lot's miniature. You can't just use a generic miniature. You could, I suppose, if you modeled it exactly after Jimmy Comes a Lot's card, you know, with a weapon or whatever he's carrying and stuff like that. Oh, okay. I'm looking at something and I'm like, I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Okay, but now I know. But if you remember, or if you go back and watch these videos, the first starter set was the Ardennes. And the German starter set came with four or five, I think it was four Germans, and they were all in winter camouflage, winter smocks, etc. And I kind of used uh, their painting uh, technique or the look of their miniatures. I basically mirrored them because I was one of their spokesmen and I was trying to show off their figures. So I did it exactly like they did. And the winter coats were like done in 3 layers. I'm not going to do that for these guys. But they did like I might have the same color up here. Not beige, but kind of like a dragon's tooth, or maybe it was kind of a brownish, a very light brown, maybe they're khaki beige or the camouflage beige. And then on top of that, you highlighted it with a an off-white, like maybe a brain matter beige or something like that. And then on top of that, you highlighted it with white streaks and tips and stuff like that. And it looked awesome. But it just took a lot of time to do. I'm going to cut corners on these guys. I'm going to white gray them and then apply a wash and call it quits, because that's going to make them awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're going to call it quits. I've only got 4 more minutes before my Star Citizen game is supposed to start. So thank you for coming out and hanging out with me. I see we had quite a few viewers, and I try to do this every week. I try to do a live stream painting or bullshitting session where we talk about miniatures or we talk about rules. I need to rebase a bunch of my British Napoleonics to my Marshals and Generals rules standards. Plus, I need to write up my updated basing rule standards, and then go through and actually change the rules. I really probably should do that in a stream at some point, or just record it and then upload it after I edit it. But live streaming is more natural, more. But either way, I gotta let you guys go and hang out next